Hi, this is the explanation for the source code I have made for this activity. The class that I have decided to implement and use is a class called shape, and I have declared this as public so other Java files can access this. The properties of this class are the position, which is represented by x and y, the size, which is represented by width and height, and the orientation, which is represented by the angle. The following properties are declared as private, so only this class can access it. Next, we have the getters for the following properties. Since we have declared the properties as private, we must need a way to access the properties outside of the class, and to safely do that, we have getters. Each getter of each property just returns the property itself. And for the setters, it's the other way around. We just pass in the new value and the properties are replaced by that new value. And for the first property and method of this class is the print details, which just formats a string according to the values of this class or the properties of this class. So it just nicely prints out the x, y, width, height, and angle properties. And we just print that into our screen or the terminal. And for our constructor, we have this. If we only pass the size, especially if we're going to declare or instantiate a shape which is a square, so we just use the same size for the width and the height because square shape has the same width and height. And if we decided to instantiate a rectangle, we pass in a separate width and height. And if we also want to pass in the width and the height as well as the position, we pass in the position and the size. And ultimately, all these three constructors refer and use this super construct, or rather overloaded constructor, not super constructor. And this just sets the following values to the class properties. And we have here the following behaviors or the methods of the class. We have the move x and the move y, which just increases or decreases the position or move it. And we have the rotate, which transposes the orientation. And we have the flip. We multiply the angle by -1 to flip it. So if it's positive and we multiply it by -1, it will become negative. And if it is already negative and if we multiply -1 to it, it will become positive. And for the get area, we just return the calculated area of the shape, which is width times height. And for the perimeter, we just return the calculated perimeter of the shape, which follows the formula width plus height times 2. And here is how we use that class. So we go into our main entry point for every Java program, which is public static void main string. And then we declared or instantiate here three objects that use the shape class, the square, the rectangle, and the tilted square. And we use the constructors accordingly, the overloaded constructors accordingly. Here we pass mat.py to use radians instead of degrees, because in computer, the typical used measurement for angles is radians rather than degrees. So here we just print the following initial position, and then after modification we modify the properties of the square using the setter functions or methods, and we print the details to see the changes, and we just print the perimeter and the area. And for the tilted square, we just adjust its orientation or we tilted it more. And to see the program in action in runtime, we just run it, and as so we get the following correctly.